Alright folks, this is going to be the first official ACFL cast in over a year. And we are going to go ahead and broadcast this Combine just to give you guys an example of how Phil and I used to do things. So, since we don't know these teams, we will look at Team Blue, which is a Hobgoblin Priest, Ariel Druid, and Human Wujen, which I think was heavily inspired by ACFL design. Now, Team Red, we will look at Glailen, Raizo, and Zola. So we have Priest, Druid, Wujen composition versus Crusader, Ninja, Priest. So this should actually be interesting because we see two, not one, but two special classes. And both would have at least some ACFL utility. I think that Ninja would be slightly less useful than a Human Wujen, for example. But I also think that both these teams are severely lacking firepower, so it may not be as entertaining as a real ACFL match per se, but we will get to see potentially some talent, and maybe that talent will enter the draft. So we are winding down 3 minutes, so while we're waiting, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about what to expect in the ACFL over the next week. From what I understand, the official Season 6 owners meeting just started. So at this point, the owners are finally collaborating on the decisions that need to be made. So basically, it'll be a few more days, and then both the ACFL schedule and the draft will begin. And I'm super excited to see how many people we get. I already did post in the DSL forums about how we want as many people as possible. We had a relatively small draft at the beginning of last season because it had been 2.5 years. And that was an exciting season. That was Quicksilver did a complete turnabout. They were amazing all that season, and it was with a strange composition. Nobody would have seen, a pirate, an assassin, a dragon slayer, and expected, for one, that heavy melee would be so amazing together, and for two, that a pirate would be able to be a starter in a championship team. At least championship in the sense that they made the finals and they finished 16-4. So then 2.5 years pass. People have forgotten ACFL exists, and then we have the lowest number draft we have ever had. And then, strangely enough, again, it became, in my opinion, the most exciting season that we have had since, because of the broadcast, because of Ashby's help in bringing it into an in-character event. It successfully challenged every single mode of DSL, whether it be economical, roleplay, player killing, doesn't matter. So we are started out, and now we get to cast play by play. So Boof is going to start with an air elemental. They are just, everybody is basically just getting their stuff out. And usually one instance in which that's useful, I mean, you want to prep anyway, is like if you have an assassin on one of the teams, then the Charmies will soak up flash. That's one thing you want to do. There is an early ninja dart, so we are seeing the special mechanics of the new races come into play. Zola has Holy Smite, which I did not know, so this is a real ACFL match. So, and it lands successfully on Sabien, and that is going to be big because Suffocate, Drowning, Monsoon, let's assume he's air water. At the very least, that was Drowning, so he's certainly one of the two. So at this point, Sabien is being targeted down. He was Holy Smited successfully. He's not going to have real damage output for a while. So it does look like as long as he sits there as target, then he's going to die very quickly. And it does look like, because of Zola's clutch Holy Smite, that they will probably take the first flag. It is also irritating to note that there is an Ariel in the match, and that is why Zola is quiet. You definitely don't want to be quiet normally in groups, but they have no choice. And again, we're seeing some very real factors in ACFL seasons. Ariel is always irritating. You have to work around it. In the Season 4 Brute Squad Championship winning team, you had an assassin and an Ariel, and they would both blind and deafen you. And I like to call it the mushroom strategy, just because. A lot of jewelry is being destroyed here. Sabien does go down, so that puts it at a 3-2 advantage in favor of Team Red. So they're all in the red flag room, so they want to, in theory, move to blue, and someone needs to, like, if you're doing it correctly, then you capture at this point. You want to take that advantage. You don't want them to come back. You don't want to kill everybody before you get the flag running. You get the advantage, and then you roll with the flag as soon as possible. And it does look like Zola is headed in the right direction. Let me make sure. Yes, Zola is in the blue flag room, so it does look like Zola is going to capture. For new players who are learning ACFL, you will top capture flag. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's capture space flag. I could be wrong about that. It's been a season. And then you wait. You wait to pick it up. It has a timer on it. And it does look like, see, we're seeing some actual clutch play from new players as far as I know, and this is crazy because Boof knew that Zola was going to take the flag, and he went directly to the flag room to interrupt. So we now have an interrupt strategy going on in the blue flag room, even though there is a disadvantage, so they're not letting them take it easily. And Boof does pick up the flag, and that is not what you would expect. At first, Blue was at the disadvantage, so what Boof is doing is he is forcing them to kill him at some point. And they are going to go right for it. Raizo is doing very good damage to Boof. That is probably an off alignment protection, because Boof did, he can't protect against the whole team. So Boof is going to die very soon here, but he accomplished his goal of 2 of them going down, so they will at least refresh together. And in this context, Ninja is actually looking good. I don't think that it will be a starting championship lineup for anyone, but it looks good in this context because he got a early dart out. He went directly and did some good damage to let me make sure. Yeah, to Boof. And everybody is playing surprisingly well considering it's been a year. I mean, these may be familiar alts, but they all seem to know what they're doing, so. Again with the jewelry, and that is something that you have to protect against, because those gold rings are valuable. Air Elemental doing substantial damage to Glailen. Not in terms of hits, but certainly the damage. Oh, and that was the issue. Sanctuary. So everybody is at the 40, and they are just gathering up. Sabien is back, and Holy Smite probably has a few minutes left before Zola can use it again. So let's see the Wujen in action. Let's see what Wujen can do in an ACFL context. Because again, it's hard to imagine that class being designed without ACFL at least being taken into mind, because you have Suffocate, which does, you know, it's not great for field PK because Zola does get the first capture of the match. So Suffocate is not great for field PK because at awful condition it tapers down and it does no damage. In ACFL it's hugely useful because you can keep doing huge amounts of damage. I think there's going to be a meta where you don't want to be too high condition when fighting a Wujen if they're being fielded, because you can take Unspeakable's Unsanked, which is crazy. And the damage is coming out by Sabien. He is doing Monsoon. I think they know that they have to target him again. They don't want to leave a Wujen alone. You don't want to be Gust blinded for 0+1. You don't want Suffocate to go down. And the Gust does go down, and it blinds pretty much the entire team. Raizo now taking some damage. Again, the ninja issue of they have utility. They aren't a tanky fighter at all. Not like Assassin is. Sabien is already in red. He did get plenty of damage out. And he may not be air, by the way, but he certainly is water. Raizo does take a Dispel and takes a lot of damage in that one round. And that's another thing that you can do. A seasoned PKer will always Dispel. You know the timing of the rounds. You feel them out. You know when you are right underneath the next round that goes off. So then you time the Dispel for that. And if you do it correctly, even if you have a Sanctuary trigger, it doesn't matter. You will still land that Dispel and then the damage off that round. And Raizo does get Destroy Toasted by Zagan. And Hydra has an Ariel Druid of our own, and we enjoy him very much. So Zagan is doing some work in this match because Ariel Druid is a time-tested, highly valuable race class composition. So, as far as I know, there's still only one flag on the board. And Boof does pick up the red flag, and he immediately summons an air elemental because he knows that if he's hit, he wants that rescue option. Because, again, I'm going to explain obvious things a little bit because this is a Combine. I want people to understand the context. If you are hit with the flag, you can't move at all unless you're rescued. If you move into a room with the flag, you have to wait a number of seconds. It's very easy to hit a flag carrier. The only thing stopping them from killing you as a flag carrier is your team protecting you. And again, Boof knew that. He summoned the elemental so that it could rescue, and he does get that rescue off at the goal line. They do reinitiate contact on him. Everybody's on him currently, so they really want to get that flag out of his hands. And again, these strategies are strategies that are used by championship teams. For example, red has the first score, so blue knew that it needed to get a flag rolling immediately. They knew that other members of the team might be lower, so the strategy that you use typically when somebody has a score on you, you come back, is that you go for a 3-cap. You go and try to stagger deaths, and you get all 3 flags. That's the plan. Doesn't always work out that way, though. Sabien again doing some work, does Gust blind Zola. And I'm not sold on how efficacious Wujen would be against championship teams. I assume it could be good. You would need a hell of a team backing you because, again, you're always going to be the first target. Your defenses are not amazing. You don't have healing. You know, you're a mage. And when you have a mage slot in ACFL, you, in theory, want it to do other things too. Like Zudum's role in the Brute Squad was, you know, both as an invoker who did tons of damage, but he's also resistant to swashbucklers like Kid, and he also was a tanky flag carrier. So you want as many hybrid roles performing on an ACFL starting lineup as possible. Wujen does serve as a hybrid of sorts because it can blind, it can make it harder to flee. What I think would be interesting is, or what I could see is a Wujen being on Grindel's team, because Grindel's entire team was based around a blitzkrieg strategy with Hartney, for example, hammering in order to stun the team while Grindel's melee pounded away on people, and then you had Slan flashing so that they couldn't target Grindel with dispels. So a Wujen would work on KCS. A Wujen would not necessarily work on Brute Squad. But I am fascinated to see how it will work out this season, and if any will show up on the draft list. Zola does pick up the flag again, and immediately moves northwest toward the red. Boof taking a lot of damage, and it does look like he is going to die soon. So, again, there was a counter cap on the behalf of red team. They knew that they needed to hurt blue, and pretty much everyone on blue is hurt. Zagan may not be. But Zola is again getting movement toward the west to try to go ahead and get these final two caps off. Boof taking substantial damage. Zagan is not able to get to him for whatever reason. Zagan is in blue flag, and so is Boof. So Zagan is opting to do damage. He maybe knows that he can't out-heal the damage that is going down on Boof. Boof is going to die. Zagan at that point has the choice between just trying to do as much damage as possible to Zola's moving team or capturing the flag to delay further. Phil made an insightful comment, which is that 3 versus 3 or 2 versus 2 isn't the best. It's kind of intended as a 4 versus 4 game because you can run into a bit of a standstill where you keep killing each other and you don't get captures off quite as fast. But this has still been a fun game so far. Boof is just a tank. He's taken so much damage. And he has and his Sanctuary does drop on that round. So, yep. And Boof does go down, and Zola was already waiting in the flag room. So, red is playing this very well. And Zola is going to go. Zola wants the 3-0. He goes directly to the flag room. Zagan has not hit Zola yet. Zola is probably... no, okay, he does end it. Sabien does get him into combat. So nobody on red is able to capture the flag just yet. They're all in the flag room. All they have to do is, capture and pick it up. And then they can run for that final 3-0. Sabien taking a lot of damage. Sabien is in some trouble here. Zola does pick up the flag, so Zola is going for the victory lap. And Zagan was moving west for a point. He may be over there trying to counter capture. It's hard to say. No, he is an Idodon, so maybe Raizo knows that. Raizo does take a blind, though. And for a ninja, you got to get to your people. Air Elemental does get dirted. That may have been on purpose. You can at least kill the rescue chance at that point. So Zola is going for the final capture, and Zagan is trying to stop with his relatively full health pool. And they're going to try to kill Zola, but I'm not sure that this is going to work. Sabien just dies. So, yeah, Zagan knows that he has no chance. It's just the context that you work with is that you have to know your team, and he maybe knows that he can't do anything. And here's the thing about Ariel. They are so good. Ariel Imbue is great casting. It's just that they don't have many defensives, and they're easily chargeable. And Glailen is playing a great Atherin top role here, proving again that Crusaders can do some serious work in the ACFL. So who knows? Quicksilver might have some people to pick up here. Okay, so again, this is so good. Zola is moving toward the flag room, right? And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Glailen charged right to the opposite end, to their flag room. Well, no, I don't understand why he moved there, because in theory you want to prevent your flag room from the capture. But everybody is at the 10-yard marker, and Zagan's still trying to kill Zola. Glailen does hit Zagan again. It's just a cyclical existence, a terrible existence for Zagan, who is taking a lot of damage off the charges. Zagan trying his best, because Zola is at the 10-yard marker. All Zola needs is to get 2 rooms more. What Zagan may be trying to do is delay for his teammates to come in time and to counter capture. But Zagan does flee. Zola was stuck on the air elemental, but he does move west. It is 1 room away. 1 room away, folks, from the Combine ending. They are at the goal line. Glailen trying to do work for Zola. And this is what it comes down to. If Zola goes west, if Zagan flees or dies, which looks increasingly likely, then Zola is going to get the capture off for Team Red. Boof is in blue flag room, but he does not have time to summon an air elemental. He should have moved west directly, because, again, this is it. Zagan flees, this should be it. And that is the end of the Combine, folks. Zagan snarls. So that was a 3-0. Again, we got to see some of the limited races in ACFL, and it looked fun. It looked fun to play. Zola doing pretty well. It's funny that we see 2 priests here. They're not traditionally a great ACFL comp, but they both did some work. So that is going to wrap it up for this cast. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was more of a fake broadcast, but it did give me a platform on which to discuss some of the ACFL commands and how they work for any new players who might want to enter that draft. And come on, folks, let's make it the biggest ACFL draft we've had in the history of the game. Let's do it. Forget that numbers may have been slightly higher a few years ago. Let's make it the biggest draft. So, thanks for listening to the stream. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will reconvene on April the 3rd. Thanks.